What's up, guys? It's the Osmo.com Night Shift Podcast. Talking some MLB for Saturday, July 28th. Two slates to talk about. Quick early one, 3 games, and then 11-game main slate on DraftKings. Doesn't get kicked off the early slate until 3 my time, 4:05 Eastern. And that's just kind of a weird one, but we'll go through it really quick and then talk about the 11 games on the main slate. Get to Osmo.com, check out the spotlight hitters, pitchers, and stacks. I'll be doing those articles for Saturday as Josh will be off. And then we will have the lineup card written by Osmo himself, slate-specific advice, how he's approaching the slate. He does that every Saturday. Ownership projections, rankings, you know the deal. If you're not premium, check out our premium packages on Osmo.com. Just click on premium. All the packages will show up. Choose the one that is your favorite. And yeah, we will not have a live stream tomorrow that I know of. If we do, it will be surprise, and it would probably be with me, but we'll see. All right, let's talk about this early slate very quickly. We've got Cubs, Cardinals, Indians, Tigers, Phillies, Reds. Lots of hitting that I like. I think if I'm playing this slate, it's probably going to be Clevinger, and then sprinkle in some Vince Velasquez, and maybe even some Matt Harvey. Velasquez just tons of upside. Whenever he toes the rubber, he's going to get a lot of righties in the bottom of that Cincinnati lineup, which I like. Super risky play. I don't think any pitcher is off limits in terms of stacking against on this slate. I stack against Quintana all the time, so I would have some Cardinals bats, especially for this cheap. All these guys are below 4K besides Pham and Munoz, oddly enough. Batting 8th, it looks like. And then Carpenter, of course, but Carpenter shouldn't be under 4K, even in a lefty-lefty matchup. So I like the Cardinals. Miles Michaelis would probably be the other option I would consider outside of Velasquez and Clevinger. Just a solid pitcher, good against righties. Man, I don't know. I don't have a ton of thoughts that I don't think are going to be outside of what most people are going to do on this early slate, so that makes it unattractive to me. It's basically just lock in Clevinger, sprinkle in Velasquez, Michaelis, and some Harvey, because I don't think Harvey's coming off a terrible start, and he's going to be pretty low owned, probably lower owned than he should be for only 6 pitchers on the slate. I'd much rather use him over Liriano. I think Liriano gets belted here. Cleveland not striking out against lefties, ton of power, getting on base a ton, and it's a pretty good hitter's park with 80-degree weather, a little bit of wind blowing out in Detroit. So that's enough talk about the early slate. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't feel like I have a ton of an edge on it, so I don't know if I'll end up playing it. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, we've got, I don't know who it's going to be, and doing this so early, it's always risky talking about it this early, but it may be Beeks for the Rays, who they just got from Boston. If it is, he's 5,900. I don't know if he's stretched out, but if he is 5,900 against Baltimore, I know he's a lefty. I know he had that one terrible start. I think it was against Detroit when he was chalk. But I would be interested in using him if he indeed is going to be the pitcher for Tampa Bay and is not going to be on like a 65 pitch count or something outside of the norm. On the other side, I like Gausman quite a bit for 7,300. Gausman's just a favorite of mine, and he had a bad start against Boston, but anytime a pitcher has a bad game against Boston, results-wise, swinging strike-wise, chase-wise, I just pretty much throw it out because they're just such a tough team to navigate. So I love Gausman for 7,300. I will have a lot of him if Beeks is on the mound. Most of my pitcher value would come from this game. So I hope it is Beeks, and then regardless, I'm going to have a lot of Gausman, and then probably not many bats. Mets and Pirates, we've got Jacob deGrom against Trevor Williams. deGrom for 12.9 is expensive, and it's not that great of a strikeout matchup, but I don't have a strong take of him or Verlander. I'd probably lean Verlander for a little bit more on DK, but I would guess Verlander's a little bit higher owned than DeGrom, maybe a lot higher owned than DeGrom actually. Now that I'm thinking it over a little bit. All right, so I don't want to target against DeGrom. I have no issue playing him. That's only the most obvious thing in the world. On the other side, Trevor Williams, a guy who doesn't miss bats but does a good job of getting low-quality contact, only under 32% hard contact for Williams on the year. That being said, I would much rather go to Gausman than him, and they're $100 apart, so it's a pretty easy decision to fade Williams for me. And I'll play some Asdrubal Cabrera and Brandon Nimmo, who I both like quite a bit, against Trevor Williams. Twins and Red Sox, we've got Jake Odorizzi against Rick Porcello. Odorizzi 5,400, Porcello 8,400. This is not the game for Odorizzi. Anytime someone's going up against Boston, if it's a righty in Boston, that is usually an avoid, even at 5,400. I know Gibson navigated that matchup very well, and that's very impressive. But I think Gibson is a much better pitcher than Odorizzi at this point. Odorizzi's going to have trouble against both hands, I think, here for the Red Sox. Lethal top five, you know the deal with Boston, so I'll be stacking up Boston. Odorizzi's still got some hard contact issues, xFIP at almost 470 on the season. Does get strikeouts normally, but this is not your normal matchup. Love the Red Sox here as a stack. Porcello going for the Red Sox, 8,400. If there were more righties in this lineup, I would probably want to play some Porcello, but it looks like he's going to get all lefties besides Dozier and maybe Garver if he's in the lineup. So not an attractive matchup for Porcello. He's much better, at least I have him being much better against righties this year. And just 8,400, I would rather take a shot with Gausman, who I think has some strikeout upside, than Porcello, who is probably a little bit safer, maybe. But I think if I'm going for safety, I'd probably just go down to Gio Gonzalez, who's $800 cheaper. So Porcello probably won't make any of my lineups. Twins bats on the other side, I like Rosario quite a bit for 5,500 in GPPs, just because I think he's an underrated hitter. 150 WRC plus against righties this year. Doesn't strike out that much. 40% hard contact. Gets on base a lot, and Porcello struggles to strike out lefties and gives up hard contact to them. So I like that matchup a lot. Nationals and Marlins, we've got Gio Gonzalez against Trevor Richards. Gonzalez, I think, is somewhat of a safe option here. I know he's had decent starts against Miami this year. Maybe it was just one of those starts he had. Brian Anderson's always in play against the lefty for me, as is JT Realmuto, but Realmuto almost 5K on DraftKings. That's kind of crazy against a pretty decent pitcher in Gio Gonzalez. So I don't love Gio, but I will have some of him just because of his price and because I don't want to go with all my exposure to Gausman in that range. Richards on the other side, not someone I'm looking to play. Just way too much quality contact he gives up, and you guys know my stance on the Nats at this point. Anytime they're even somewhat healthy, if Murphy's in there, if Matt Adams is in there, it's just going to be really tough for a righty pitcher to go in and limit all these lefty power bats. So I'm on the Nats stack once again. I hope they're low owned because of the park. We've seen some low ownership on them recently, and I want to take advantage of that. Where are we at next? Trevor Richards. All right, there we go. Richards is allowing a ton of hard contact to both righties and lefties, so not someone I'm scared of to play like a Trey Turner. No Rendon. I don't think he will be back for this game. He was placed on the paternity list, but I'm even okay playing Mark Reynolds as a way to be contrarian off of Matt Adams. All right. Toronto and Chicago, the White Sox. Who's he going to be for Toronto? Is it going to be Jaime Garcia? Because I'm seeing J.A. Happ on the sheet, and that is obviously wrong because he got traded. So I'll just go with Jaime as of now. I guess I can check DraftKings. All right. Toronto. Oh, DraftKings doesn't have it in anyways. Well, Fangraphs had Jaime Garcia in there. We're just going to go with that for now. I don't really have interest in Jaime, so if it's a lefty against the White Sox, then I'll be playing Jose Abreu and Avisail Garcia, and definitely Matt Davidson, who's only 4K. I don't mind using Davidson against either righties or lefties. It doesn't make that much of a difference for me. Same with Avisail Garcia. Same with Jose Abreu. The only one it matters for me a lot for is Yohan Moncada, who is much better against righties than lefties. And the White Sox bat him down in the order against lefties anyway. On the other side, Lucas Giolito for 4,800. He is just not someone I find myself playing. I think I played him one time this year, and he had, I think it was against the Twins, and he had one of the luckiest starts I think I've seen this season. Walked a bunch of guys, wasn't getting first pitch strikes, was getting strikeouts though, somehow. Or he had three, yeah, this is the start. All right, 6 1/3, 3 strikeouts, 4 walks. I think he walked the bases loaded in the first inning, ended up with that stat line, 4% swinging strikes, 20% chase rate. Just like he just got lucky in that start. I don't think that there's any doubt about that. And I've been off of Giolito ever since, and I will be here. Granderson, only 3,900. He just never gets priced up. Justin Smoke for 4,500. Solarte, same thing. Doesn't get priced up at all. I prefer the lefties here, like Morales, Solarte, Smoke, Granderson. But I don't mind using Grichuk and Russell Martin for 3,300 as well. And then Teoscar, just big power from him against righties. So Toronto's stack just sets up so well. I love stacking against guys with walk issues, and Giolito certainly has that. Just looking at his last 5 starts, 4 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks, 3 walks, and 4 walks. He's gone deep, but you're just asking to get blown up if you're going to be putting guys on base freely, and it's not like Toronto doesn't have some good hitters to make him pay. Texas and Houston, Ariel Jurado against Justin Verlander. So Jurado is coming up from Double-A, and he looks decent in Double-A. However, that's going to be quite a big difference. Going from Double-A, you face a major league club, and now not only a major league team, but the Astros in Houston. 5.6 run total for the Astros tells me all I need to know. Not going to play Jurado. I am going to play a lot of Houston. That bullpen for Texas is pretty taxed right now after that series against the who's against the A's, where it was like all those 10-run games in a row for both teams. So their bullpen's really tired. If they get into a tired bullpen, could be bombs away for Houston. So they're going to come up at the top of most people's lists. Mine is no different. Verlander on the other side will come up for a lot of people on their pitcher list, and that's no different for me either. So I'm going with what I expect to be the chalk in this game. I love Verlander against these Texas bats. Texas strikes out against both hands at a similar rate, one of the highest rates in the entire MLB, and Verlander's just got the stuff to mow him down. He goes deep, gets well over 100 pitches all the time. So just nothing not to like about Verlander. Dodgers and Braves. We've got Alex Wood going up against Max Fried. I'm not an Alex Wood guy. I don't play him as much as maybe I should, but the Braves have been not as good as what I expected them to be after the first couple months of the season, and I don't know. I do respect Wood as a pitcher, especially against lefties, so I'm wary of using Freeman and Markakis in this matchup, but the one guy I really love is Tyler Flowers against lefties. One of the highest WRC plus ratings of anyone in the MLB. Tyler Flowers crushing lefties this year. So I like him for 3,400 as a one-off. Albies is perfectly fine, but 5,100 is expensive. You got Acuna for 4,600. I think the Braves are a little bit overpriced for me. And I usually like to play them. I usually like to pick on Alex Wood, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that here, at least not very often. Max Fried going for the Braves, not someone that I'm looking at. The Dodgers are just not a lineup I want to mess around with. Not with Machado in there, another great right-handed bat, lefty masher, whatever you want to call him. Just another reason to not want to play a lefty or really any pitcher against the Dodgers. Matt Kemp has been raking lefties this year. Max Muncy has been hitting lefties really well this year. Chris Taylor. So I'm on the Dodgers stack in this game. That's my favorite part of this game. You'll probably hear me say that a lot for the rest of the year. Oakland and Colorado. Coors Field. All right, yeah, this is Brett Anderson against Antonio Senzatella. Monster 12 total. And closer to 12.5 in this game. Anderson 4K, Senzatella 4,500. This is all bats for me. This is going to be the highest owned game of the slate. I don't think there's any doubt about that. That's the only reason I don't want to pay up for Verlander and DeGrom, or would be the only reason. You still may be able to do it if you can stomach like a Beeks or Barria or Felix Hernandez, but it's tough for me to get up to those guys because I'm not super confident in any of them. It's going to be bats on both sides. I mean, I love Arenado and Story, especially against Anderson, but Colorado is probably my favorite stack on the entire night. And then on the other side against Senzatella, Jed Lowry and Matt Olson are really sticking out to me, as is Matt Chapman. So that one's easy. Arizona and San Diego. Got Patrick Corbin going up against Tyson Ross. Corbin 10-7. That's a nice little discount off of DeGrom and Verlander, so I don't mind Corbin if I can't get up to them. It is a good strikeout matchup. Not as good as if he were a righty, but still pretty good against San Diego. And then an awesome park, 3.4 run total for the Padres. Corbin has that electric slider, and I'll be playing a good amount of Corbin, 30% K rate. That's pretty crazy that he's sustained that rate throughout this entire season. So I'm in on Corbin. I'm a fan of his, and I will be using him here. Expect him to get a lot of swings and misses. Ross on the other side, 7,200. I'm not in on him. I'm worried about the stolen bases here for Arizona. I know Pollock can steal. Anyone that can steal against Ross is really in play for me. John Jay has a few stolen bases this year. Goldschmidt's only 4,400. I prefer lefties against Tyson Ross, but I have no issue going to Paul Goldschmidt or a contrarian. I would assume it's going to be contrarian. Diamondbacks stack. They're just too cheap for me. Goldschmidt 44, Pollock under 5K, Peralta 43, Kettle Marte 4K, Descalso 4,300. So I like that Arizona stack against Tyson Ross. Brewers and the Giants. We've got Yuli Chacin for 7,700 against Johnny Cueto for 8,100. This game is kind of a write-off for me. Neither of these pitchers cheap enough for me to want to use a heavy amount of. And then it's the worst hitting environment on the slate. So it's just tough for me. No Brandon Belt on the Giants side. Otherwise, I would be interested in him. And then on the Giants side, I think Cueto is going to be okay at or I shouldn't say he's going to be okay. Cueto is not going to give up a ton of power in this park. So I don't think I'm crazy about using any of these Brewers bats. So this one is kind of the least interesting game. If you wanted to use a pitcher in this game, I don't think it's a terrible idea just because it's a great pitcher's park. But that's about all I can say for me wanting to use anyone here. Seattle and the Angels. We've got Felix Hernandez against Jaime Barria. Felix is 6,600. Barria 6K. Mariners 4.3 run total, Angels 4.8. That's pretty sizable total. Felix on the road is someone I'm not usually looking to play. Love Trout here. And then Andrelton Simmons, those guys always come up for me. Justin Upton against righties has been much better than Justin Upton against lefties this year. So I like him as well. So 2, 3, 4 makes for a nice little mini stack for the Angels. Shohei Ohtani as well for 4,300. I like him quite a bit. So, oh wait, I've got the wrong order in here. All right, so it goes Calhoun, Ohtani, Trout, Upton, Pujols, then Simmons. Interesting. All right. I mean, there are at least 4 guys that I like using out of the Angels against Felix, so I've got no problem with the Angels stack as the late night hammer. Berea on the other side. He's been somewhat confusing to me. I was a fan of his. I am still a fan of his. The numbers don't look great. 18% K rate, 4.77 xFIP, 38% hard hit percentage, and he's not going that deep, which is concerning, but he's still getting swinging strikes. So for 6K, I know it's not a good swing and miss matchup against the Mariners, but I would assume he's going to have some run support here. Maybe he can throw a few low stress innings and get you some value at 6K. If he can get you 15 points, 16, 17 points, something like that, that would be perfectly fine on this slate. So some mild interest in Berea here. Not looking at too many of the Mariners bats, but one guy that does stick out to me is Nelson Cruz, 224 ISO against righties this year. People think of him as a lefty masher, but I've got him being very good against righties as well. That's going to do it for the night shift. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you get to watch some baseball, play that early slate, play the main slate, check out the Awesemo.com lineup card from Awesemo himself, and we will see you back on Sunday night. Actually, Josh will have the night shift out for Monday. All right, guys, good luck.